Welcome to the programme. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, facing huge political pressure, has admitted that he was at a party in the garden of Downing Street, or a gathering at least, during the first lockdown in May 2020, but he claimed it was a work event. At the time of the gathering in May 2020, people across the UK could only leave home for work, exercise or essential supplies. They could only meet one person from another household in an outdoor public place, and that had to be socially distanced. Our political correspondent Jonathan Blake reports on a dramatic PMQs.
Would you lie about the parties, Prime Minister? Are you going to apologise?
Emerging to face the fury, Boris Johnson left Number 10 this morning and headed to the House of Commons after revelations about a bring-your-own-booze gathering in the Downing Street garden during lockdown. What would he say? What could he say to answer the challenge from his opponents? Was he there? And ease the anger among his own MPs.
Mr. Speaker, I want to apologise. I know that millions of people across this country have made extraordinary sacrifices over the last 18 months. I know the anguish that they have been through, unable to mourn their relatives, unable to live their lives as they want or to do the things they love. And I know the rage they feel with me and with the government I lead when they think that in Downing Street itself the rules are not being properly followed by the people who make the rules. And though I cannot anticipate the conclusions of the current inquiry, I have learned enough to know that there were things we simply did not get right. And I must take responsibility.
After the apology, an admission that he did attend, an explanation he believed it was a work event, but also an acceptance others wouldn't see it that way.
Well, there we have it. After months of deceit and deception, the pathetic spectacle of a man who's run out of road. His defence that he didn't realise he was at a party. It is so ridiculous that it's actually offensive to the British public. He's finally been forced to admit what everyone knew, that when the whole country was locked down, he was hosting boozy parties in Downing Street. Yes. Is he now going to do the decent thing and resign?
Prime Minister.
I appreciate the point that he's making about the event that I attended. I want to repeat that I thought it was a work event, and Mr. Speaker, I regret very much that we did not do things differently that evening.
The Labour leader accused the Prime Minister of changing his story, and worse.
Can't the Prime Minister see why the British public think he's lying through his teeth?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's up to the right honourable gentleman to choose how he conducts himself in this place. He's wrong. He's wrong.
On the 20th of May 2020, Downing Street staff were invited to socially distanced drinks in the garden of Number 10. Bring your own booze, said an email from a senior official. The event's one of several in 2020 being investigated. On the 15th of May, the Prime Minister and staff were pictured with wine and cheese in the Downing Street garden. Boris Johnson said they were working at the time. Months later, on the 15th of December, when social mixing was banned indoors, a Christmas quiz was held for Number 10 staff, with a photo showing Boris Johnson taking part. And on the 18th of December, claims of a party inside Downing Street, which the Prime Minister's then press secretary was later seen joking about in a mock news briefing.
Paul said,
opposition parties are now united in their call for Boris Johnson to go.
will the Prime Minister finally do the decent thing and resign, or will his Tory MPs be forced to show him the door?
Will the Prime Minister, for the good of the country, accept that the party is over and decide to resign?
Yeah.
Some may be making light of the situation, but for Boris Johnson, it could hardly be more serious. Jonathan Blake, BBC News.
Well, the British political historian Sir Anthony Salden, who's author of The Impossible Office, The History of the British Prime Minister, says Mr Johnson has rightly apologised, but has to do more of PMQs just then?
Well, he's in a bad position and he has done the right thing, which is to offer a profuse apology, and it was pretty humiliating for him to do that. The question is, will it be enough? And there is so much anger. This is so unusual for a Prime Minister to be in this position. It's not just his judgment that is called into question, it is his integrity. And the British Prime Minister, not unlike the monarch, the public, even if they disagree with them, they have to respect them and understand where they're coming from. If that essential trust in their gravitas, their sincerity, their honesty is questioned, and it has been repeatedly questioned with Boris Johnson, then it puts the Prime Minister into an imperiled position, if not yet an impossible position. He has to wait and see. I think he'll have to explain more, apologise more, and very much to the point, he has to use this as the opportunity to fundamentally reposition himself as Prime Minister.
I mean, Boris Johnson was trying to say, wait for the official inquiry. That is being conducted by Sue Gray, who is a civil servant who is politically neutral, but is investigating her boss, investigating her colleagues. Is that going to actually be enough, even if it clears Johnson, on some sort of technicality about whether the garden is your office or not?
Yeah.
Is that going to cut through with the public, or is the damage now done?
I think very significant damage has been done. It is very unusual for a Prime Minister to be in this position. Tony Blair was accused of lying over the information he had about the Iraq war. Anthony Eden, going back to the 1950s, was accused and did indeed lie to the House of Commons and left soon after. Tony Blair didn't. I think that makes the point that the jury here is less the British public than the people sitting behind him, the Conservatives, and particularly his cabinet.
And we're expecting in this country local elections, to local governments in May, and that's going to be a really key period if Johnson makes it through that far. Because the very difficult thing is about whether you replace Johnson with somebody else and who would be able to be as electorally popular as he has been. He's got a very unusual coalition now, hasn't he? And when his Conservative MPs look at Rishi Sunak or Liz Truss, they think, they're not so sure. And could that ultimately save him? It's the Tory MPs' self-interest in keeping their own jobs, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And by the way, those who promote themselves as the successor rarely go on and lead it. It could be the Sajid Javids or even the Jeremy Hunts who take the crown when it comes up. Difficult to see how that's going to happen, but difficult to see how he can carry on. He will not be able to carry on unless he fundamentally changes.
Sir Anthony Selden there speaking to me earlier, British political historian.